All right. Hi, everyone. It's me, John D. Villarreal. Here we go. This is what people wanted me to talk about tonight. I hope everyone's doing great tonight. And it's a little bit late, but that's okay. So I did a poll on my LinkedIn. I've been busy with a lot of stuff, no doubt about it. A lot of stuff. I'll catch up everyone later. And I did a poll on my LinkedIn. And just so you know, there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to cover here. Well, I'll say this first about what topics I was going to maybe do a show tonight. So what topics should I cover? What should we talk about? And I did a poll on Elon Musk, number one shareholder of Twitter, theory of modern marketing, different things. And this was the winner. So this is what we're going to talk about tonight. And there's just so much to talk about with this. There's so much to talk about. There's so many different layers that we're going to go into here. But I want to first say a number of key disclaimers. Number one, I'm not giving any advice whatsoever, not financial, legal, otherwise, anything whatsoever. This is a talk show host. This is opinion. This is news reaction. And we'll take your comments if you have them. That's number one right there. Not licensed in Florida, not practicing in Florida, no attorney-client privilege or any, where else other than California. Now, no, and again, there's no advice. There's no anything. No, no. And this is analysis. No, this is analysis and all of that. Now, okay. This is intriguing. This is so intriguing in my opinion. This is so intriguing whatsoever. Again, I'll hit it one more time. So bear with me. Not giving legal advice, no attorney-client privilege. Not licensed in anywhere else other than where I'm licensed in California, and that's it. And we're going to dive into this. Now, the reason I say that, well, okay, let's put that aside. This is straight talk show host business. Analysis, opinion. There's a lot to this. There's so much to this. It's really interesting. It's really insane. And really interesting. Okay, so let's start from the top. We're going to do this in real time. Okay. Elon Musk recently has the largest stake in Twitter. Now, there's a lot of, and I want to be very precise. I'm going to maybe slow down sometimes, take a pause. I'll take your comments, but because I want to be very, very precise because there's so much that we can talk about here. And I think this is a very important conversation. So it's like, this is the one I want to talk about. And in some ways, this is the one I really didn't want to talk about. So, but it has to be talked about. And if anyone's going to talk about it, I'm probably one of the people that should talk about it. And again, everything you do is at your own risk. So let's go that. So I'm going to go step by step. First, let's talk about the news. And then we'll do different layers of analysis. And I'll take your questions and comments. And also, I've been talking with some other people. Now, I'll say this, and this is, I don't know, I say this as cool as I can and everything like that. But I mean, I've always said that I'm nobody. I just know a lot of people and I know a lot of things. And it's interesting because I can share my screen and stuff like that, but I just, I don't want to get super technical right now. It's funny because I had 327 people respond to this according to LinkedIn. It's my opinion. Everything's all my opinion only, not legend, any facts, not case, any spurs, all for entertainment purpose only. Please check disclaimers. And of that, on my post about what I might want to talk about tonight, I've got a very, in my opinion, very strong LinkedIn. Maybe a little different than your average person. I don't know. I just know what I know. 3 people from Google view my post, 3 people from Ernst & Young, 2 from Stanford Healthcare, 2 from Mercedes-Benz, 2 from McKinsey, 2 from Wilson Sonsini, Givers and Rosati. Love you at WSGR, little WSGR alum here. 2 from YouTube, 2 from Deloitte, 2 from DLA Piper. 21 people that are business strategists, 18 founders, 12 executive directors, 9 university professors, 9 partners, 5 lawyers. The number 1 area that was looking at my post, Washington, D.C. Number 2 area, Miami. Number 3, New York City. Number 4, San Francisco. Number 5, L.A. So it's a little different. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, okay, let's get to it. I had to lay that out there, and I know that's like a lot of front-loaded stuff and disclaimers, and people that know my videos know that sometimes if you want to skip some of that stuff, you can skip some of it, but don't skip any of it because it's all important in my opinion. Okay, let's get with the news. Number one, recently, Elon Musk, one of the richest people in the world. I think he's like the richest. Let me double check that. Let me double check because I know that constantly changes. That constantly changes, in my opinion, or has changed and stuff. Yeah, I think that's right. I think, but there's, he's up there. He's up there, definitely. And I think it's just insane. I mean, just the amount of money this dude has, hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't want to get into an exact thing, whatever like that, but it's just a lot of money. Okay, great. So Elon Musk is, very, very rich, very, very wealthy, and decides to buy a big portion of Twitter. Now, there has been some news. Let's just say it again. I'm going to be very careful here. There's been some news with Elon and Twitter. There's been some things that have happened, in my opinion. And, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of discussion about Twitter. There's a lot of discussion about social media. There's a lot of discussion about it, the discussion of private companies versus the public square, freedom of speech, and then these are all very, we can get really technical. And again, again, this is I'm talking as a talk show host here. If you read the Constitution, freedom of speech, it really pertains to the government, right? That government should not infringe, and I have to get the exact language out and all that, and we can all look at that. But there's also, if you talk about political theory and Rousseau and Locke and etc., there's also sort of a social compact, a spirit, if you will, of a society, like they talked about, spirit of the law, spirit of the Constitution, all that stuff. It's people, when you talk about the public utility model, people think that if you pick up the telephone, you can basically say what you want to say, right, to a friend. You can text someone. There's no one that's censoring that here, and in at least in the U.S. I'm not aware of everywhere and all the jurisdictions and all the different technologies and everything like that. But it's just so with social media, it's such an important the argument is that listen, this is where the public discourse really is now. It's not even really on TV or radio. Yeah, there's some of that, and I've done TV, I've done radio, I've done print, but that it's such a crucial sphere. Right? It's such a crucial element for us all to be able to talk together. And then in fact, the traffic, and I have to research all. I'll put some stuff in the video description below on LinkedIn. Excuse me. No, let me revise, extend on YouTube. I'll put some of my citations, or I'll find some stuff. And again, this is just off the top of my head right now, so there's no real specific stuff other than I've got some articles up, and I'll probably talk about them, and I'll put them in the link on YouTube. But I remember seeing a while ago that internet traffic has exceeded TV in terms of hours. I forget what the metric is. There's different metrics in terms of like traffic, hours viewed, and different things like that. And I think it's been that way for a bit. And when you particularly talk about the global reach of internet, the global reach of some of these social media companies, particularly on mobile, right? It's a huge deal. So when you have a company, and I know all these Silicon Valley companies, I've had a lot of experience with Silicon Valley companies. Every company is different, obviously. But when you have people making decisions about, and you can argue both sides of this, right? I mean, so at some point, like you have to, decisions should be made. There's a certain level of discourse that you want to have on your platform or brand and stuff. And so, on my social media, I don't want crazy comments on there, right? And sometimes you have to, what do you want to say? Monitor that, right? And you have to attend to that, right? So I get that. On the other hand, when you're talking about, moderating, that's the right word, moderate. When you talk about moderating, like world leaders, big CEOs or leaders in business, celebrities, and I'm not saying anyone's, more important than anyone else or anything like that, but it's like that, can raise some different questions too. And there's been a number of world leaders, I think, that have talked about some of these things. Now, then there's the whole debate about, the political aspect of it. And again, I want to really stay away from politics, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is what I didn't want to talk about this, but in some ways I'm the perfect person to talk about this, or one of them, in my opinion, because I have such a broad, levels of experience and depth and stuff. And so there's a lot to this. There's a lot to talk about here. And if some of these platforms have such, well, I'll leave that where it is. I may come back to that. So the question is, if these are really super critical platforms and these decisions are being made at a private level in terms of who's on, who's off, what's moderated, how it's moderated, making these decisions. And if some people feel like, hey, tech or Silicon Valley leans a certain way, maybe strongly, or some people feel like, hey, these are all U.S. based. A lot of these, not now. There's global stuff, right? There's a lot of different things happening globally. But if a lot of these companies are U.S. based, what about the rest of the world? There's a lot of it's a very interesting conversation. And my general disposition, and I think this is what Elon was saying. So Elon had a lot of things to say, and I may look through his Twitter feed here, and we may talk about that. But I just want to set the table because there's a lot to talk about here other than just the headline of him buying the stuff, because there's a lot into that. I'll pause on this and we'll get to the news, and then we'll come back because there's been many aspects to it. The public square, potential, is Elon now, what's Elon doing with the board seat? I mean, the technology, there's a lot of different things to talk about, in my opinion. Okay. So, and it's not the first time that we've seen this, right? So Jeff Bezos, one of the richest from Amazon, bought the Washington Post. And we've seen, we've seen this kind of thing before, right? Way back in the, a long time ago, Hearst Papers and all that, right? William Randolph Hearst. And again, hopefully I'm not getting the history wrong and stuff, but let's talk about the news here. So Elon Musk bought the largest stake. I think it was just over 9%. I want to say it was 9.2% thereabouts. Okay. And that was like, whoa. And then you had like a lot of employees that are like, I think from more news reports that, hey, we want to talk to Elon. We need a town hall. How's that work? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, wait a minute. Like, you're a public company, right? I mean, how many people complain when the stock's going up and you just go public and everything's going? I mean, how many people are complaining about who the shareholders are then, right? And as a public company, I mean, listen, people can do what they want to do if Elon wants to meet with them and people and employees want to. I'm all for everything. Like to me, it's like anyway. We'll get back to that. Like I said, there's so much. There's so much here. Okay, and I'll say this in front. I'll lay my cards. I mean, I'm all for, within the bounds of reasonableness, obviously, because there's limits to everything, right? But I mean, I'm all for free speech. I'm all for more discussion. I think it's so right now. Like it's such a crazy time, right? And I just think I've always loved talking to everybody, right? I talk a lot, obviously. I'm a talk show host, but I listen even more than I talk, right? And it's surprisingly so. Like, I'm listening even when I'm talking. Like, I just think people are fascinating. I think it's important to talk to you. Find the win-win. You know, just listen to someone else. See what their perspective is. Why would you not want information? Why would you not want to hear a different point of view? Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, maybe you can learn something. Like, I'm learning every day. I'm learning all the time. So if you look at this now here, this is CNBC. Lauren Feiner, right? This is on the tech, and I'll put the link in the YouTube description. And Elon Musk. So Elon Musk buys the number one. I think Morgan Stanley was number two or tied or something. I don't know. Like, he buys the most amount, 9.2%. Let's just call it that. Somewhere around over 9%. And all of a sudden, well, Elon's going to join the board. Now, he just released that he just revealed that he's not going to join the board. Now, what's interesting about that, and I think, in my opinion, that was a good move by Elon, so I'm going to give him a little applause for that. And I'll tell you why I think that. First of all, we have to play, we're not, again, I want to be very careful. We have to try to guess as to what Elon's motives are here. Now, and who knows? Now, there were some things that he said on his Twitter, and let's go to that kind of led up to some of this, right? And I apologize to the audience because this isn't like the most totally together show that I've ever done, because there's so much here, right? And I'm just, this would have taken a couple hours to prepare, honestly. And like most shows, I can really honestly, I'd like to believe, that I'm that good that I can really do most shows on the fly or even like 5-10 minutes preparation. But this show, because there's so many different levels, would have taken a long time. And I just don't have that time this week. But people wanted me to talk about this, and so I wanted to bring it to you. Let me make sure I'm looking at the chat here, and I've got to try to check my socials. I'm live on Facebook, but I'm not on my Facebook right now. So I'll try to double check that in a second. I'm just trying to peruse my LinkedIn. So I just don't, if you're trying to comment real time, I'm trying to get to you is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So, it's nonstop. So here we go. I mean, he recently, wow, dude, Elon is just, he's just so like, he's just so there, man. He just doesn't care. And that's everyone. I'm talking to all people right there. And so I grew up in California, most of my life in California. So I think sometimes I say certain things, whatever it is. Anyway, let me get to this. So his most recent tweet is something about, he's like, quote, "Weather is fake. I seen Truman Show." This is like, you can't make this stuff up. This is gold. Okay, now here's the thing. Earlier that day, and I'm going to work backwards. April 9th, Elon Musk, Twitter, quote, "Truth is the first casualty. Which media organizations are trusted?" Talking about breakdown by Republicans and Democrats. And that's interesting because, and this is from YouGov, right? So, hat tip them, and I will just do a couple highlights here and link to, this is on Elon's Twitter feed here. And okay, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to know. I was going to summarize everything, but it's hard to know exactly because there's so much every time. There's so many different angles here we can drill down. So I keep saying this, but it's just true. But I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to. That's what I'm saying. To make this show right, it would have taken hours to try to figure out. Okay, well, here's the headline, and then here's how we're going to unpack each one of these things. But it's fine. We're just going to do it in real time, and hopefully I'll show some skills in doing that. Okay, so I'm just going to pick a couple things out here just to show you, and it shows at the very top. It's most trusted by, I think, Democrats. And then it looks like, for the most part, until you get to some of these things towards the bottom, you have more things trusted. Media in general seems to be more trusted by Democrats, according to this one study, survey, whatever. It looks like U.S. adult citizens. I don't know how they. I mean, I guess that's everybody. It's sort of in the middle, and it slides. And then it looks like Republicans sort of trust media the least. At the very top is the Weather Channel. We have around 50% of Republicans, about 60% of Democrats that sort of trust that. And then somewhere in the middle, let's just pick the New York Times. Very, very few Republicans trust that. A lot of Democrats trust that. CNN is even a little bit more extreme, right? And then let's just take Fox News. That's kind of a little bit tighter, but reversed, right? And so it's very interesting, right? It's very interesting because as a student of media, right, and someone who's been in media, then it raises a lot of questions. Is it the audience? Is it the information? Is it the channels? Is it all of it? Right? And so, but we're all living in the same world. And the facts are the facts, whatever those facts are, right? And things, can. So I think that right there to me is an interesting and maybe. Yeah, I mean, I'll go so far as it probably concerning statistics, right? Probably a concerning study right there, because I think it's important that we can all have opinions, but we should be able to agree on the facts. That doesn't mean that people don't have different points of view, different things come to light, et cetera, et cetera. But this is about, it looks like 20, I didn't count them, whatever. Let's call it roughly 20 different news sources here in America, and you've got things all, you've got very different views of looking at things. And I think in my opinion, at the very, very least, that is a perception problem. That is a perception problem, at the least. And so then we go back, and he's talking about, okay, gig taxes, okay, SpaceX, man. I mean, you got to say, no, I mean, the teams and the companies and Elon have just done just amazing things. And you just have to, as an entrepreneur, and I remember when they first were launching Tesla, and I know, like I've mentioned this before, I mean, I knew at least one, maybe a couple board members. Just so impressive, just super impressive. I mean, what a story. It just, I mean, forget about everything else. You just have to marvel at that. And it's really great. And of course, like, it's just a huge success story. There's no doubt about it. Okay. And then you have the statistics here of the top 10 most followed Twitter accounts. And number one, this is April 9th. I mean, he's been like, he's talking, okay. And he's talking about, and he said, okay, another one, most of these quote unquote top accounts tweet rarely and post very little content. Is Twitter dying, unquote. And he has the statistics. The number one Twitter account is President Obama at 131.4, then Justin Bieber, then you've got some different celebrities. And Elon Musk is number 8 at 81 million. So it's very interesting that you've got someone who's one of the top Twitter accounts in the world, definitely one of the richest, if not, it depends, definitely one of the richest people in the world, a super entrepreneur that has now bought this stake. There's a lot more we can drill into here, but I'll come back to that. I want to set the rest of the news up here. He declined the board seat, and I think that was very smart. Why? Hey, Jack, you want to talk about an entrepreneur? We'll talk about Jack. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you, brother. Definitely appreciate you. There's another. Oh man, what a success story there, and Jack's phenomenal. Absolutely. If you haven't, I don't know. Just came out stealth mode. I think we can talk about that. We need to talk about Jack and what he's up to and stuff. And again, we're not live on LinkedIn, can't promote, but I can talk about different things and what's going on. Jack, you're fantastic. Appreciate that. Let me put that on here. Jack Shang, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. And I will have some more comments. Okay, yeah, I got you. Fair enough. Absolutely. No doubt, brother. Thank you. Absolutely. So here's the thing with Elon. not joining the board. I think that was smart. And again, I've said all the disclaimers up front. I'll say it again. Not giving any advice whatsoever. Everything for entertainment purpose only, not alleging any facts. Everything you do at your own risk. And this is from news reports too. If you join the board, everyone's like, what's Elon going to do? Is he going to buy it? I heard again, this is a news report that supposedly there was some agreement that if you join the board, he was limited to buy 15%. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to pause this right here because I keep trying to set the summary, but then there's so much detail that we got to go into. I think there was something where the stock, this is, I have to open this up in another thing, that the stock rose when Elon Musk, and I think it rose like a lot. Give me a second here. I've got to do this. I'm doing everything in real time. So even though he spent like a lot of money, it seemed like things were moving up pretty quickly there for Mr. Musk. And I got to get the exact statistics before I try to get into it. And this was, and the Twitter CEO was saying, I think it's for the best for him not to join the board and everything. So that was very interesting here. And let me just do this here. Let me make sure I've got, okay, volume off there. Okay, perfect. Doing a live show is no joke. I can tell you, especially, okay. So there we go. Okay, here we go. This is from Fox News. And I thought that was right. Okay, here we go. And this is from Tyler O'Neill about 14 hours ago. So Elon Musk bought 9.2% of Twitter for about just under 2.9 billion, just under 3 billion. So 73.5 million shares. Okay. And the stock went up. And again, we're not making any calls here, any predictions here, whatever. I'm just trying to report what I believe happened here. Now, it's not, that's the headline here. It's not going into, yes, exactly. Quote, Twitter reportedly set up its arrangements with Musk so that he cannot own more than 15% of the company while sitting on its board. Now, in addition, there was some commentary where I think the Twitter CEO was saying something, I may be wrong, where the Twitter CEO was saying something like, hey, to the employees, well, if Elon joins and he has to be a fiduciary and act in the best interest of, that sets up all kinds of other considerations for Mr. Musk. And Elon is kind of, he does things his way, right? And so now it, was that, I don't want to say, I'm not gonna speculate. I'll say this. I'm saying, like, this is like, I want to be very precise on this, and everyone's talking about it, but I want to be very precise. But there's so much here. I think it makes the most sense because what's Elon's goals? Elon's goals may not line up with Twitter goals or Twitter fiduciary goals or whatever. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying that that's another consideration, right? And again, I'm not alleging anything here. I'm just thinking extemporaneously there. That's a different consideration to think about. In addition to the 15% limit, forget about everything else. What if, hey, Elon Musk just made potentially, if the stock went up a lot, depending on what the numbers are, and I can't get those numbers in real time here fast enough off of this article. I mean, he may have, I think someone said somewhere, I may be wrong, but I think someone said this is one of the best investments that Elon made. If it went up, maybe this is a great investment. Maybe he just wants to keep buying it because it's been a great investment. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not alleging that, but I'm saying that would really, look, Elon had another tweet here on this article, quote, convert Twitter San Francisco headquarters to a homeless shelter since no one shows up anyway. And supposedly he did a poll and that's received 91.3% support. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you make those, if you're on the board now, that tweet maybe has a different implication. And maybe Elon, it will constrain Elon to, in terms of what he can say and the freedom that he can say it. Plus, maybe he wants to buy 25%. Maybe he just wants to sit on this as an investment. It's not so much of there's been speculation that maybe this is a hostile takeover or something like that. Who knows what Elon's going to do? I would ask the audience out there, what do you think Elon's going to do? I'm willing to put a little bit of my opinion out there, but when you join the board now, you've got those things that you have to think about, not let alone show up for board meetings and do all that type of stuff. And it's not like Elon's not pretty busy, right? Not saying he wouldn't want to do that, But it seemed like when he was talking on his Twitter, and I'm going back now, that he talked about like free speech being, he's showing a lot of SpaceX stuff here. It's super cool. I just love this stuff. I mean, just amazing. I mean, look, I mean, I just have to say, look at what he's done with SpaceX and Tesla. I mean, dude, I'm sorry, April 7th. And I think someone else, Elon Musk, I think this was when he was doing Rogan show, and he's got quote, Twitter's next board meeting is going to be lit. I mean, it's just, and he's talked about the edit button, right? For someone that's that tweets a lot. I mean, people have talked about that. That's a thing that's very interesting. Someone that is that kind of shareholder. Now, we've seen this before, where whether it was Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, if I remember correctly, I'm not alleging anything. If I remember correctly, with Coca-Cola. And, a big shareholder can have serious influence. And the way that it works, right, is the shareholders vote for the board, and the board basically, can hire or they basically, decide who's going to be the management. And so that's kind of roughly how it works. Again, not giving, not alleging anything and not giving any advice or any kind of anything like that, or any professional anything, financial, professional, legal, otherwise. Just you can look it up and the various sources out there on the web. So the big question, there's other things we're going to drill down into here. We're going to get deep into it for a bit, but at a high level, what do you think Elon's trying to do? Those are the two questions. What do you think of this? Three questions. What do you think of this move? Number one. Number two, what do you think Elon's trying to do? What is his goal to do this? I mean, lots and lots of publicity. If that was one of the goals, then definitely I think he's accomplished that. And number three, what will be the end result? What will be the impact of this? Will Twitter now unban certain people? Will they be a little more cautious in terms of censoring? Will there be more of an open debate? Will there be edit buttons? Will it be nothing? Will it be, a lot of people are saying what's going on, right? Because I think there's a huge discussion, right, about content. And again, I want to be super precise, and I'm not going to get too into any, certain things, but this is a very interesting time right now. And I think when you look at things like Web3, blockchain, decentralization, internet, right? I think people are so Discord, right? Telegram, even TikTok, right? And YouTube. People really, I think the world wants to talk to the world, right? And I think that it's a cool time because we're all consumers of it, but everyone can be a producer too. And I think that breaking down that, as we say in the business, that fourth wall and being able to have that conversation is so important. And, what is the right role of these big internet media companies? I mean, how much should they, do you think that they're private companies, they can do whatever they want? How heavily should they moderate it? Should we have politicians from wherever talking, say, hey, these companies should do this, that, or whatever? That's a question. The other question is, how much are they public squares? Should it be more like the telephone where, what about antitrust? What about all these things? And I think that a lot of this is, do I think, oh man, there's so much I could say. I have to be careful about it. Do I think that there's a certain, a predominant, because listen, it's always, life is always way more complicated than any kind of like, let me put it another way. Let me rephrase this. I'm gonna give me a second here. It's this real time. I got to think through exactly how I want to do this. Listen, I think we all can do a better job of making sure all points of view are heard, right? And I think that Silicon Valley can do a better job of that too. And a lot of times, you know, let me make an analogy of my time in the Valley and stuff like that in tech. You have a lot of Me Too, right? And I'm not talking nothing about the political movement or anything like that. As soon as I said, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, I don't want anything misconstrued. Let me forget that. We're gonna edit that. Pretend edit that, right? This is live, but in terms of like, there's a lot of copycat stuff in that. In terms of Hollywood, okay, hey, we did great with that blockbuster. Let's do the sequel and the sequel. And hey, this blockbuster kind of looks like that blockbuster. Or two different blockbusters come out at the same time. And they're kind of similar, right? If something works, you're going to get more of it. And particularly when you're talking about money or media, right? I mean, as soon as you had a successful radio talk show, you had a lot of other talk shows that sort of looked like that, right? And I came up, you know, in the talk show scene in that. And so, you know, you still have to, if you want to do your own thing and do well, you have to find your own voice. But there's a lot of similarities, and we see a lot of similar TikTok videos, a lot of similar YouTube videos. So you understand what I'm saying? There's a similar type of thing in Silicon Valley. Hey, if this deal get funded, then we're like this, but just this way, right? And so, you know, and then follow the money and stuff like that. It's probably the similar in Wall Street, and probably similar in political campaigns in DC. So if something works, so what happens is sometimes other ways of approaching things, discourse, whatever, points of view, sometimes can get crowded out because this is what's working, or this is what's worked, or this is what the people in power like, or whatever it is. And that's kind of what goes through it. I think what Elon is saying is, listen, we need to make sure that everybody, you know, we want to make sure that everybody has a voice here. And when you start moderating one of the top CEOs on the planet, and I'm not saying that, you know, necessarily should be treated any differently, and I'll put that on pause, but certainly one of the top 10 people on the planet for Twitter, I mean, you know, you got to start thinking that through, okay? I think that it's just such an interesting conversation. I mean, the more I think about it, the more, it's just so many layers to this, and I hate to keep saying that, but it is just true. It is just true. I think it's a dangerous, and I'm not saying like, oh, whoever has the most money wins or anything like that, but I mean, this is a demonstrated, repeatable super entrepreneur. I mean, there's just no question about it, right? And so to think that like you're going to second guess Elon, and Elon's going to make mistakes like the rest of us are going to make mistakes, I understand that. But it's like, you know, who's making this decision? Is it like a lower level person in Twitter, a manager, director? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just speculating. But I think we have to, there's so much of this back and forth, my side, your side, you know, who's, you know, left, right. And I don't think that's even like, and I've said that before and different things. I don't think that's even like, yeah, it's still a discussion. I think that's a lot less of a discussion these days. I think there's a lot of other things going on these days. I think, and I had a conversation, you know, I've been having conversations, and I'm having some very interesting conversations today. You know, I'm looking at some different things and what I want to do and what's the next move and stuff. And I've had some great conversations with some, you know, great people, everything from, you know, the video game space and Web3 and venture capital and private equity and, you know, do I want to get back in, I mean, it's all kinds of different stuff. I'm looking at professional stuff. I mean, I'm looking at all kinds of different stuff, you know, automotive. And knowing me, I'm going to try to do multiple things because that's just what I like to do. But in having these conversations and what's going on with the business and what's going to move the needle and what challenges you see and what opportunities and what about the economy and what about inflation and what about this and that, it's just like the sense I'm getting from everyone is they really want to move the needle. Oh, let's see right here. Jimo Wang, they're afraid of Elon. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, Jimo, I think that's a lot of it. And that's kind of what I was trying to capture, right? In terms of like, when you have these copycat things, you know, whether it's the 7th sequel in the movie and stuff like that, like people want something that's fresh and original. People want, let me put it to you this way. I think this is maybe one of the better ways I can say it. Elon Musk is such I'll probably never be able to meet Elon Musk. As many connections and contacts as I have, I'll probably never be able to meet him, and that's fine. I'm not, you know, same thing with I've met, and I actually have a list. Hold on one second. I actually have a list, and I'm not going to turn it around. I actually have a list right here. I got to be careful because I actually have a list that's pretty interesting of billionaires that I've met or may have met, or were like one step away. I was one connection away or something like that. It's pretty extensive, in my opinion. You know, and again, I may be misremembering. I'm not alleging anything, but yeah. But listen, I'm sure I'll never. I don't want to get in. It's not about me. I don't want to get in it. But I mean, I don't think I'll ever be able to meet Elon. But the point is that I've been very lucky. I've been very blessed in that I've been able to be around a lot of really successful, very intelligent people, and it's great. I don't want anyone to. I mean, again, if it's something super crazy, I mean, again, there's limits to everything. I'm okay. We've stipulated that. By and large, you know, unless it's something super outrageous, I don't want anyone, you know, monitoring Elon Musk's tweets. I want to hear what he has to say. No different than I want to hear what. Carly Fiorina has to say. No different than I want to hear what I'm blanking right now. There's so many great CEOs out there and stuff, and academic stuff. I want to hear what the best and brightest people have to say. I mean, I pretty much want to hear what everyone has to say, but I definitely want to hear what someone like Elon Musk has to say. You know what I mean? Like that's really important. You know, I want to hear when she was, Chancellor. I want to hear what Chancellor Merkel has to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, you know, we owe it to each other to listen and to have the conversations. You know, it's like, listen, it's the same thing with my chat here. You know, as long as you're not saying anything like completely out of bounds or like not allowed about the, you know, different term service, whatever, like it's going right on the screen and I'm going to deal with it. Hey, John, I don't like what you're saying. Hey, John, I don't like your hair, or hey, John, whatever it is, right? And I'll deal with it because it's the conversation. And that's crucial, right? So I think, you know, Gmo, I mean, I think you may be onto something. Right? I'm not in anyone else's head, but and I think that's what Elon's getting at. It's just like, listen, this is supposed to be an open discourse here. We need to be talking. Why would Twitter? And this is what's so crazy about all this. This is the thing. It's like you look at some of these moves recently. Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Look at that. Elon Musk able to Boba Fett trailer, amazing, dude. I mean, the guy's got some interesting content here. And it's like, what if here's what I don't get. And again, I want to be very precise, very careful about this. If you believe in what you're doing, if you think you're right, whatever it is, it could be anything, business, politics, whatever, you know, crossing the street, whatever. Why are you worried about what anyone else says? I'm not, you know, as I've always said, I'm not afraid of what anyone says about me as long as it's true, as long as it's honest, right? I don't feel like anyone's really competition. I mean, it's not, you know, I just don't get it. You know what I mean? Like what I don't understand the desire to shut people down and not have a discussion about it. If you think you're right, if I say 2 + 2 is 4, I'm not worried if you say 2 + 2 is 3. That doesn't bother me. Right? I might say, well, you might want to look at that again. Like, how did you get that? You know what I mean? You want to be respectful and courteous to people, but that's what I don't understand. Why do people feel like, hey, we can't let this person speak? And it's happening in all kinds of different spaces. And again, I really want to stay away from the political stuff like that. But you look at the different news sources. Look at what's happened in the past couple weeks in different areas. I also don't get this. I've never done this with my interviews. I don't get the whole gotcha stuff. Like, I don't try to, I'm not here. Sometimes I'll ask tough questions, but I'll let you know, I'm going to ask tough questions, but ask fair questions. But I'll ask you a lot of cool questions. And I want you, when I interview someone, I want you to get your story out. And then I want you to feel good about it. And then I'll deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Just by and large, I want to talk to people that are interesting, that have something to say. And if I disagree with something you're saying, I'm going to say I disagree with that. But I'm going to, to the extent possible, again, with everything within bounds, I'm going to let you have a chance to say it. And I just think that's, people are so, here we go. Gmo. Yeah, I hope you're wrong. I really hope you're wrong. I disagree with that. But I think I know, you can follow up. I think I know what you're saying. I hope you're wrong, Gmo, and I disagree with that. Here's why. I really believe, listen, when people know me, I have fun with it, whatever like that. But, I was, I'm super smart, right? I was born super smart, and I've tried to, educate myself along the way and stuff like that. But I think it's going to sound corny and cliche, but I think everybody has something to teach you, at least multiple things, right? I think people are way smarter. That's what I was saying. Like, the audience is way smarter than you think. I think people are way smarter than people give them credit, and that's the danger, right? Okay. You're going to get. I got to be careful, but this is the danger. I think when you start thinking. Indulge me here for a second. I want to be, there's three things I'm thinking. Want to be very precise on how I say this. When you start thinking that you're smarter than everyone else, let me say another. When you start thinking that you know better than other people what's right for them, that's a danger. Or more that, if I go visit, I'm not even going to name a country. I'm just, a certain, whatever, somewhere else. And I'm only there for a weekend or a week. Do you think I presume to know, okay, let me put it this way. So my wife's, I don't say too much about it because it's funny. Sometimes she'll love the videos. It doesn't matter. But she's Israeli. And she's actually Aramaic. And that's complicated. And there's a lot of, and it's we did a religious ceremony over there, got married over there and everything like that. And I flew over there, and it's the first time I'd been there. And just amazing, just fascinating country with so much history. It's just so amazing and stuff. And I think I was there for about 10 days. We originally got married here in West Palm Beach, and then we do another ceremony over there in the religious ceremony over there so we got married both places, right? And for the family and everything. And I learned a lot, and I saw a lot of things. Whatever I thought I knew, I learned a lot more, right? It was some of that, but it was way different, stuff like that. But coming out of that 10 days, because most of the time I spent with, family and everything like that, I know a lot more than someone that's never been there, but I wouldn't even presume or think to presume or even whatever the serious complexities of that area as someone like my wife that's grew up there or someone like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Right? And so I think that it doesn't matter what degrees I have or my IQ or anything like that. It doesn't matter. I never grew up there. I don't know what's going on there. I have some ideas. I try to be very well read. I read all kinds of different sources, including, at different times, at different Israeli newspapers and stuff like that. I have no clue compared to probably anybody over there. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not there. I don't live there. I don't know. I don't live it. I can't know. That doesn't mean you can't make, I mean, as a leader, and of course you have to make different judgments. You understand what I'm saying? And so this is what I'm talking about. If for some reason we said, hey, we're not gonna let anyone from this place or this country tweet on Twitter, like, how much are we losing? I mean, like, you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm getting at? So I think you have to be super careful about making those kind of judgments and presumptions. And again, I go back to my principles, right? Which is, that's why I didn't want to do this video. I knew we were going to get into, which is, and I think this is what Elon's fighting for, I think, right? And I'm going to round the circle on that. And this is longer than I thought it's going to. I am for freedom, liberty, equality, opportunity, respect for everybody, right? And I think that we have to and I said this, I was saying that I don't know that I came up with this, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's important to be inclusive with that, and I don't even want to say this, but I'll say it. I think it's important to be inclusive without being exclusive. And I think that we have to figure out how we make all these systems and institutions fair for everyone, right? And I think that we have to learn how to talk to each other and listen to each other and respect each other. I just think that's just like super important. And I don't want to get all, too into all that type of stuff. But I mean, if you're, what is Twitter? What is it supposed to be? You see what I'm saying? Like, if you look at the stats of Twitter, now I gotta be careful here. If you look at, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're totally fine. You're totally fine. And I appreciate you being there. And Jack, and I appreciate everyone being there. I appreciate my audience. These shows are nothing without my audience. I appreciate that. Don't worry about it. You're good. You're super good. This is it. And look, and that also proves it. I can sit here. I could have prepared for hours. I could have had the perfect show. I could have done all this type of stuff. And what I'm thinking might be something, and I'm a professional talk show host and all that, but hearing from the audience gives it a different level. I have always believed, and I was one of the pioneers in this, in my opinion, in different formats. You got to talk to the audience. I did a show when I tell the story the day. When I flipped over from radio to TV, I started at the bottom, right? I started doing cable access. And this is way back before, when this was like really innovative stuff. I was doing faxes, people on the street, live studio audience, live calls, live TV, all of it, right? I mean, you want to talk about working without a net, but I thought it was very, very, very important to hear from people, right? Because we're all in this together, and it's different theories and different things, and Joseph Campbell and mythology. There's so many different things to talk about, but I don't want to get distracted. But let's get back to Elon. I'm gonna load up. Yeah. Okay. So, Gmo, is there a way you can rephrase that? Can you rephrase that? Because I don't want to get into that. Can you rephrase that so I can put that on the screen? I appreciate you, brother. I understand where you're going. I think I know where you're going with that, and I appreciate that. But is there a way you can rephrase that? That's like I'm trying. You have to understand. This is so loaded up with. I mean, this topic is so. There's so many things about this topic that. I'm trying to avoid all the minefields, right? I'm trying to be very, very, very precise. Yeah. So I think that okay, I'll let you. That's your comment. That's not my comment. That's your comment. I think. this is the funny thing. Here, there's some people that are like, hey, Elon's gonna, maybe is Elon gonna fix Twitter or something like that? Like we're counting on the richest person in the world. Some people may be counting on the richest person, one of the richest person in the world, to fix Twitter. I mean that's like, and maybe that's what it takes. But think about that. But I think it's always helpful to have some self-reflection, and maybe Twitter needs some self-reflection. Like, how did it get to this point? Like, there's a poll out there. I'm going to get this wrong. I think it was a YouGov thing. And I have to find. I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it fast enough in real time. But it was something like the breakdown on Twitter, right? Was, and someone else said this too. Like Twitter actually, in terms of social media, like people on it, YouTube, Facebook, much higher, right? I would say LinkedIn has more important value for, I love LinkedIn, and I love them all, right? And YouTube certainly, of course, and Facebook Meta. But they all have different, now I'll probably explain my theory of modern marketing soon. There's a lot to talk about that, because I think it's funny because it's very different thought. There are very different schools of thought on that, but I think that what the modern mix is now is very different. But Twitter is very much viewed by celebrities and particularly the media, particularly news media. So it's pretty important. It punches above its weight, I think, in certain aspects, in terms of influence, viewership to influence. But if you look at Twitter, if I remember this right from YouGov, I may be wrong, but if I remember this right, the percentage of people who identify as Democrat is on Twitter versus Republican, it's way more Democrats than Republicans. And people that actively post a lot, it's like, I can't remember. It's like almost like plus 40, plus 49. It's like heavy. So it's maybe not as balanced of a conversation as perhaps it could be. And then when you see certain people being moderated, and as someone said, it looks like it's going maybe more one way than the other. And hey, this person's moderated, but this person's not. And again, I don't want to get into it. I want to stay away from politics, and these are all minefields and stuff like that. And I want to be but I think it's like, if you believe in what you're doing, if you think you're right, again, if I say 2 + 2 is 4, I'm not worried if you say 2 + 2 is 3. Right? Why I don't understand why people want to shut down other people's from talking. But John, this and okay, we can get into all the examples. But it reminds me of, so one of my favorite, and I always go back to this, right? One of my favorite, maybe even my favorite, right? Is Alexis de Tocqueville, right? I studied political science undergrad at Berkeley, and you look at political theory, Alexis de Tocqueville, right? So he after the French Revolution came over here. We had our revolution, then French Revolution came over here. He was a French aristocrat to try to figure out, like, hey, what are the, what's going on in America? How's it working? What's making it work? And there's all kinds of different things in detail. But one of the things that and it's freedom of press, and there's the Constitution and all these different things, all super important. But one of the things that was critical to a well-functioning democracy, we have a republic, is an engaged and informed citizenry. And there's just really no way around that, right? So in other words, you can say, oh, well, hey, if your argument, so my point being is, if your argument comes back to, hey, we can't trust people to figure out like what's right or wrong, or we can't trust people. If they see this, who knows what's going to happen? If they see this tweet, like, I just don't think that's I don't think that's the best sustainable argument for any society, let alone our functioning republic and stuff like that. And once again, I believe that people are way smarter than I think. I'll flip it. I'll rephrase it. I think that people are pretty smart in general, and I think that like the saying goes, the audience is smarter than you think. That's not my saying. That's just a saying that I'm repeating. In my opinion, a paraphrase, particularly for themselves and what they live and what they go through. That's why, like right now, like again, not getting into any politics, stuff like that. Hey, listen, you can talk about anything you can say whatever you want to say. You can have it. This is political analysis. So I'll do a little teeny bit of political analysis, teeny bit. And Dave Bowman, Dave! Oh my gosh, look at this! You want to talk about one of the best talk show hosts out there? Someone that I put this up blind. I haven't even read it, Dave. Don't put me out to dry here. Let me see what it is. There no difference between a falsehood and a wrong opinion? 2 + 2 = 4 is not debatable. On the same level as high involvement liberalism versus minimum involvement liberalism. Is there no? I gotta think. See, Dave's a thinker. I gotta think about this for a second. What are you trying to say there? Look, hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish my thought here for a second. I'll come right back to that. I promise, Dave. Dave's great. We did a show together. Well, I really was joining his show and I had my own show. He was great out there in Modesto and Stockton, and Dave's a very cool, very, very cool dude. Veteran, appreciate your service too, etc. Yeah, Dave's a great dude, and I'll talk about that in a second. So, you know, we have to talk to each other. We have to respect each other. We got to treat each other cool. I don't like this. I don't like this idea of. It's funny because I mean, I'm not on a soapbox here by any stretch, but I mean, I grew up poor in a small farming community, right, in Western Pennsylvania when I was a little kid, and had hand-me-down clothes, everything like that. And listen, I mean, I'll say this: I'm blessed with family and everything like that, and everything. I mean, it's like there's plenty of people around the world way harder. So I say that with a huge block of salt. But if you look at where I came from, I mean. There's some days where I'm like, oh man, where did I go wrong? I should have done this and this better, and I just, I wish I was here at this point, whatever like that. And I think particularly the last couple 3 years, I mean, you look at this thing, what's happened with everyone. I mean, there's people that their family had 2, 3, 4 generation of a restaurant, and it was worth so much, and it's gone. I mean, so many, like everything's been. So many people have gone through so much stuff. And that's kind of where I come back to. Like, why can't we just be cool to each other? Why can't we be nice? Why can't we assume the best in each other? I mean, I make mistakes all the time, dude. I don't try to. I'm trying to do the right things, right? I always try to do the right things. Why can't we assume the best with each other? Why can't we help each other out? Why can't we find ways to win? I like to grow the pie. But when I get down on myself, and my wife's like that too, and we're very high achievers, and we should do this and that, whatever. We want the best for for our child and everything. And people, I don't think any of this is super complicated. But then I think about that boy in Western Pennsylvania, and it's like when I was playing with, mud pies and BMX and Army men in the backyard. It's like if you would have told anybody. My family, that I would have done what I've done, accomplished what I've accomplished in my life, like nobody would have believed you. I don't know that I would have believed you. But I'm the same person. Obviously, I've grown and achieved and learned and stuff like that. But you see what I'm saying? So I think that all I need was opportunity. And time. And I think that's what we have to try to do with each other, is give yourself opportunity and time. And I think that the danger is when you have, I mean, again, I know you have to do it, but when you're moderated, transparency, working with each other, trying to figure out ways. If you have a company that's saying, hey, this is okay, that's not okay, and it's not really clear how this is different than that. And again, I want to be very careful, very precise. People people want to be free, dude. It's really simple. People want to be able to speak their mind. And so I go back to what Gmo was saying. And Gmo has a comment here for Dave. I'm going to get back to Dave here in a second. I promise I wouldn't. I absolutely will. It's like, no, I think everybody knows what they know. I think some people maybe sometimes perhaps are afraid to say anything, or I don't want to, hey, I'm worried about my job. And, I mean, I'm worried about what people think. I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't like to talk about whatever it is. But it's like the best conversations I've had, some of them are when, someone's changed my mind about something. Or, hey, I didn't think about that. Or, hey, you know what? I disagree with you, but now I feel better about my position, stuff like that. But I like that conversation. I appreciate you pushing my thought process on this. And why does everything have to, why do we have to try to like left, right, this, that, whatever like that? Why can't you just like why can't we just have a fresh perspective on it? What's up? Like how can we work together? I mean, you think about that, right? I mean, you think about the world, and pretty soon the solar system and the universe, right? Think about all the different ways that, different perspectives, different ways, different approaches and stuff like that. If we were saying, like, hey, we have to figure out how to, work together. It's funny because I lived in, do I want to go down that road? Let me think. I mean, I'll do it. All right. So in Silicon Valley and in Houston, when I was in Houston, I think Houston, was the most diverse city in America or something like that. I think amazing food and stuff like that, and see that works. That city was great. That city was great, right? And you've always so many different perspectives and stuff like that. And no city's perfect, whatever. And when I was in Silicon Valley way back in the day, like you didn't have this. Okay, I'll say this: this idea that if you get to the political thing, like, hey, this is good and that's bad and whatever like that. Again, Michael Jordan's Republicans buy shoes too. Why would you cut off? How is it good business to punk out half your potential consumers? Like, I'm all for. Oh man, I'm on a tightrope. It's like, listen, see, this is what I'm talking about. I go there for my audience. I'm straight up. People know. Nobody has to guess with me. I'm straight up. So it is what it is, right? I think you can. I think it's very cool that we've got a lot of companies that are putting out stuff with values and CSR and for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, because, treating employees right, being professional, all these type of things. I mean, that's just good business over time, right? That's sustainable over time and all these things and people that care about the planet and different, that's all great. But if you want to be inclusive and sustainable, it should also follow that you should have a hand out. You should try to lift people up. You should try to encourage people. You should try to listen to people and hear people and figure out a way that we can all come together. Find the win-win. If you're a leader, if you're a business leader, if you're a media broadcast, Dave Bowman, I gotta get back to Dave. I promise I would. If you're a business leader, you have to try to grow a broadcast. It's broadcast. You want the biggest audience you can get. Like, how would you not do that? Why would you not do that? I don't want a small audience. I want a big audience. Now, unless I'm specifically narrow casting. Again, that's narrow casting. Like, hey, I'm talking about, whatever, some super technical thing for people in this position, and this is how you do this job, and this and or whatever this new product is, whatever. But if I'm broadcasting, I want the biggest audience I can get. That's the name of the game, right? Similarly, same thing with business. Why would you want to limit your consumers, limit your audience, limit your stakeholders, limit your, that doesn't make any sense. Twitter is a media company. Why would you? Elon Musk is one of your biggest. Why would you? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And now he's your biggest shareholder. I think Elon Musk is smart. I think Elon has a plan. I don't know what it is. I've got some ideas. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to get Dave here. But you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that's not good business. That doesn't make any sense. And someone told me this, and I'm gonna borrow this line. And it's, I don't agree with it in specifically. I'll talk about that. But I understand the spirit of it and where they're going with it. So I'm not criticizing it. I just want to preface that, right? And they said, yeah, when I sold cars, if a Democrat came in, I was a Democrat. If a Republican came in, I was a Republican. And again, I'm not saying that's me. I mean, I am what I am. I've got enough stuff out there, like either like me or you don't. And what's funny is the longer people know me, either online or whatever, almost invariably people like me more, and I hope that says something good, I guess. But nobody, I don't know that anyone. If you try to be liked by everyone, I don't think that's the way to go either necessarily. But I think everyone needs to treat people with respect, right? That's what I'm saying. Like if you're for inclusiveness and diversity and all that, like why can't you allow space for everybody? Right? Again, obviously with the caveat within reasonable bounds, stuff like that. Like, yeah, okay, if you can't go out there and do crazy stuff where you're hurting other people and stuff like, we all know. I'm saying I always have to say the caveats, but what that person was, my take on that was, listen, it's. When I'm doing business here, I want to be able to talk to and relate to and sell everybody. I don't want whatever my thing is to be a barrier to figuring out how to. That person came in for a car. I want to help them give a car. I want to give them a great experience, and I don't want whatever to be a barrier to treating this customer right and giving them a great experience. Totally agree with that. That makes sense, right? How is it different than in media? How is it different than when you go to a restaurant? How is it different in allowing people a place to talk? I mean, don't you want to have the most vibrant, engaging show out there? When I do show, okay, so Dave's a great talk show host, and I like to think I'm a pretty good talk show host. I'm not talking smack, but there's other channels, programming, whatever like that maybe isn't as engaging. But then invariably, whether you want to call them shock jocks or you want to talk about like some of the morning zoo stuff or maybe some of the stuff on YouTube or some other places that are getting a lot of views. Well, why is it getting a lot of views? Because at some point people want to have that conversation. And if Twitter or someone else says we don't want this, guess what? There will be other places where that comes up. I mean, just look at some of the. Again, I got to be careful. But I mean, yeah. Let me deal with Dave's comment. Is there no difference between a falsehood and a wrong opinion? 2 + 2 is not debatable at some level, on the same level as high involvement. Yeah. So I hear you, Dave. I mean, right. I mean, right. Facts are facts, right? What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. I understand. Yes. I'm not saying that. I agree with you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that whatever the facts are, I wouldn't stop someone from saying 2 + 2 is 3. Why would I stop that? You see what I'm saying? Like if we start, and here's the thing, there's been a lot of things that and I'll be super careful on how I say what we mean on anything. Like what we know now is different than what we know 30 years ago, what we know 100 years ago, right? I mean, just takes like cold fusion. Does it work? Does it not? I don't know. Maybe, right? Can we go faster than light? Maybe. Tachyons. Wait, you know what I'm saying? Like things can change if we don't allow people to have the conversation. science doesn't stop. It's a process. It keeps evolving, right? And who knows? I mean, who knows what we're going to find? What if I don't know. I mean, this is it's just, I'm not legend. It's just, what if we find out that in somewhere in the universe they can do dimensional travel? Who knows, right? I mean, you never know. And so, but I think that it's for people to be super worried about Elon buying that much Twitter. Were you worried about Morgan Stanley? Why are you worried about Elon Musk? But let's talk about this. Let's wind this down. This went way longer than I thought, but it's good. It's like, okay. Great to hear from you, Dave, for sure. I hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well, for sure. And appreciate you, brother, for sure. I think, what do I think? What is Elon trying to do? I like that he didn't take the board seat because I think that he's freed up to do what he wants to do. I think that's good. I think that let me check my LinkedIn and see before I go. I want to make sure no one's commenting here and there and whatever. I missed something, so never know. Okay, no, I'm good on that. Okay. I think that Elon, I think he's got a plan. I think that it wouldn't surprise. I'm not making any calls. I'm like, everything you do is at your own. So I've said that before. Nothing would surprise. Got it. Absolutely. I will. I'll leave that. I'll leave that there. I won't put that on that. No problem. Appreciate you. Have fun. Say hi to the family. Call me. Talk to me soon. Dave. Big Dave Bowman. If you haven't seen his stuff, check it out. Absolutely. Well, again, not promoting anything, but just let me not promoting anything on LinkedIn. But Dave and I did it. Like I said, Dave and I did a show, and in my opinion, great talk show host. I think Elon's got a plan. I think Elon has a plan, and I think the plan can evolve. Right? You'll see. I mean, I think had the stock totally dumped when he bought it, and that may be different. I mean, had things. I think he may have a plan. If you were, let me phrase it in questions. If you were Elon, would you want to buy Twitter? Maybe. Does Twitter do for him? It's different, right? I mean, Bezos and Washington Post, you can see the Washington Post is really strategic. Is Twitter strategic? It could be. Would you buy Twitter for a bit? What happens if other competitors come out? Do you buy enough to influence? Does he have enough to influence it? Does this, how is this going to affect Twitter handling Elon Musk in terms of moderation? What about the other people that have been banned? Does this just get a conversation going? This is so interesting. That's why I had to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I'm like, but then it's like, there's so much here to deal with, and there's so much to talk about with this. We have to, I just want to keep following this and see what's going on. But I would say this. I'm looking at the CNBC right now. I think, to me, the reaction to Elon buying this, some of the reaction, does that tell a story? Is that revealing? Is that even, for some people, concerned? What story does that tell? Why are people so concerned about Elon? Why would you be concerned about Elon Musk buying this? I mean, hey, he's one of the biggest, most followed people out there. He tweets a lot. Why would you be concerned? Like, if you were a Twitter employee, the stock went up. Why would you be what's the concern? Are you thinking that Elon doesn't run his other companies pretty well? He's not running this company yet. So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just like I think, oh man, there's so much to say. There's so much I want to say. I'll leave it. I'm going to leave it there for now. I think I've said a lot. I think I've said a lot more than, but I think I'm going to try to be very, very, very precise and careful on how I said it. And I hope you appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking the journey with me here. But listen, I know people are going to comment afterwards. I want to hear your comments. This is what I'll leave you with. What do you think Elon's trying to do? Why would people be concerned about Elon buying it? How do you think Twitter's going to change because of this? What do you think the next move is for Elon? And I think what I think it's a good message of is this is a reminder that these are all markets. Like I was talking to someone the other day about markets. Everything's in some ways a competition for attention, right? And you can't. It's just the same. It's the same thing. Eventually, the truth comes out, whatever that truth is, right? In my opinion, whatever that truth is, and so I think we have to learn to again find the win-win, work with each other, respect each other, talk to each other, listen to each other, and that's I think that's a good thing. So again, freedom, love, opportunity, equality, happiness, prosperity for everyone. That's what I'm all about. So I love it. Keep the conversation going. If this helped you in any way, if you like it, please give me a thumbs up, smash that like button, as they say, right? Share this on your social media. Appreciate Jack, Dave, Gmo, people chiming in there. It's a great conversation. Very, very interesting. I look forward to a lot more of this conversation, and we have I'm an absolute optimist, right? I've always been a super optimist. I think that over time everything gets better, and overall, right, for society and stuff like that. Like, I mean, my lifting days are behind me. My bench press certainly isn't going to get better. It might get better in the short term. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's all good. Hey, listen, super interesting. I'm going to follow us. I'm sure we'll follow up with it. Give me the comments. Thanks again. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful night. I appreciate you out there. Peace, love, happiness, opportunity for everyone. I will see you later. My name is John D. Villarreal. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. I look forward to your comments offline, and we'll take them there. Thank you.